5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's live.
This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night, good day, goodbye. How are you doing? Welcome along wherever you are in the world. One of those will apply to you. Apparently, I have put something up that said it was 4-1. I have no idea where that is, but there we go. I had that up. That doesn't say the score, though. I'm a little bit confused. Although, having said that, my co-host this evening, you can see him there, just before this. Now, I'm not saying he's thirsty, and I'm not saying that following Leicester drives you to drink, but I caught him with a huge kitchen knife, psycho-like, trying to get into a can of beer. I mean, what's all that about? What is all that about? I mean, come on, if you're thirsty, Tom, have a drink like the rest of us. But, just calm it down. It's going to be a long show tonight, isn't it? Anyway, thank you for joining us live on YouTube, or if you're listening on catch-up via your favourite podcast platform, if you prefer to listen to us, that is. Please join in with the show and add your comments in the chat on YouTube. And as if you're watching catch-up on YouTube, add the comments in below. Just keep them respectful. There's some twats out there, but just keep it respectful. We're all entitled to our own opinions. But wherever you are, welcome along. And you can follow us on all our social media accounts. Details going along the bottom. And I'm surprised what I like going along the bottom, mate. But that's another story. Here we go. Let's start off. Yeah, we've got to talk about it. And there's a lot to get through tonight, everybody. A hell of a lot to get through. So, let's do it. I can see where it is now.
What he's talking about, viewers, is he caught me. And when you get certain cans of lager nowadays, maybe it's a Southwest thing, they glue them together. They don't put like a little ring pull on the top or plastic or cardboard. They put on glue. So I was trying to hack the glue off with a very, very overextended knife, and Chris obviously caught me doing it. So don't think I'm some sort of nut job. I mean, Leicester will do it to us. But let's get on to Leicester, Chris, rather than me knifing cans of lager.
Indeed. And I have just realised where the 4-1 was. In my excitement at possibly Leicester finally winning a game, I actually had put it to Leicester as well, not to Brentford. So, yes, it's going to be... anything could happen in the next half hour. What was that from? Stingray.
That's right. And you know what's funny? I was watching Thunderbirds yesterday, Chris. Isn't that bizarre? I was watching Thunderbirds for the first time in 20 years.
Thunderbirds. I love. What was your number?
I was number 2. I was a Virgil guy. I'm sorry.
No, that's so boring.
Dude, the first episode I saw was when they did the Empire State Building and when he crashed Thunderbird 2 and he was under attack from the American forces. And that really captured me as a child, just to like storytelling. So ever since then, I was a Virgil Thunderbird 2 guy.
I am more of a Thunderbird 3. I can't remember who it was.
Alan.
Was it Alan? I used to look, because that was the space one.
That's
that
right.
Was the one, that was the one I enjoyed.
Much better than watching Leicester.
Well, anything's better than watching bloody Leicester at the moment, isn't it? It's like watching Billy Smart Circus, let's be honest. As Ray says there, evening, Chris, another day on the sinking ship of Leicester City FC. My heart will go. I don't know the song. Here for...
I need to be holding you from behind for this, Chris. I need to be in your room, just holding you from behind. It would be very, very attractive.
No, you don't.
This is why he won't give me his address, ladies and gentlemen.
But I've got to say thank you very much for the kind offer. Much appreciated.
My pleasure.
Good evening. Although we are, like you say, we are going down, as Ray says, like the sinking of the Titanic. Uncle's in. Why did the club management not contact with Potter or Edgerton Leicester coach with better players than those and relegated? I think we'd been turned down. Well, the rumours are that we didn't contact him this time, but he turned us down twice before. And I always say, how often do you go back and keep asking that girl out when she said no to you?
Yeah, there's a fine line between asking her out and stalking her, isn't there? Yeah.
Yeah. And going off on the tangent as well, Paul says, I like the music to Thunderbirds. Did you make your own Tracy Island, though? That's the question.
I did. I had the VHS with What was it? What was her name? Angela, was it? Who used to host it? The blonde lady? Oh, I forgot her surname now. But yeah, I had the video, mate, and I did make one. Yeah, and it's so bizarre. It just came up to me yesterday for the first time in probably about 15 years. And it's all on YouTube, guys. I don't want to be advertising other YouTube channels, but ITV, there's Thunderbirds on there. Go have a little nosy.
I don't think I can compete with them anyway, so go ahead, Anthea Turner.
That was it, Anthea Turner. Of course it was, Chris. How I could forget that, I don't know. The start of any young man's puberty journey.
I think I'm a lot older than you, and I had the hots for her.
Well, yeah, but I think it's interesting because Thunderbirds were still being played when I was young, Chris. So I think there was a disparity there of the time difference between me and you, but I still kind of watched it. So, interesting.
Yeah. Oh, no. And she's still, I've got to say, she's still not a bad-looking lady these days either.
No, she's not at all.
Hi, guys. Why was Suter? I mean, that's a very good question. I like Suter. I don't understand why he was never given a chance, but, that we will never find that out. Look, I could talk about Anthea Turner all night, but I'm a single man, and I won't be able to finish the show. So we'll move on very quickly. It's been an interesting day, as it always is down Filbert Way. Oh, here we go. While we're on it, Joe, did you ever get a Blue Peter badge? Prefer mine to the City badge now.
I love how the fact I've started with a small comment here, Chris, and every Leicester fan's like, yeah, let's talk about Thunderbirds instead. That'd be much more fun as a show rather than talking about Leicester. I'm happy
to go along with this because it puts us off having to talk about Leicester. I never got a Blue Peter badge. I tell you what I like, and my sister, who is 8 years older than me, so she's in her 70s, bless her, has still got them. When I was a kid, I made. Do you remember they used to have that at Christmas? They had the big hanging thing with the candles on.
Yeah. I remember seeing it. Yeah,
very dangerous, it has to be said. But they showed how to make a safer one with a metal coat hanger, tinsel, and some shiny coloured paper. And I made loads of them. I could have made a cottage industry out of it. I loved making them. My sister still has them. I tell you what I have got, though, and good evening, everyone who's tuned in to watch Football Channel here. I tell you what I did get, and I don't know if you remember this or not, but I actually had a Tiswas token.
Oh, really? See, I never saw Tiswas, but I know of Tiswas, Chris. Sorry to
Oh,
age you there slightly when I was on the same level for a moment there, but no, that's really cool. I've heard of that. There's only one nowadays you don't want to have, and I won't mention his name, but
no,
you know,
no,
let's
no,
just
no,
say
no, 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 no,
no,
no,
because we don't want to get
no.
demonetized. But let's just, let's talk about fixing Leicester tonight.
No, no, let's talk about Tiz. I love Tiswas. Now, if you liked Anthea Turner, you had to like a bit of Sally James.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to Google this. Like literally, I'm showing like my youthfulness now, which I'll quite take in the circumstances, being an older man nowadays. But I'll have to Google it.
Do Google Sally James Navy. I think Navy garters.
Okay.
I mean, this was supposedly a kiddies program. No. Dads used to watch it, although I was a kid at the time. But I got to go on. But they used to have the Navy used to send her in garters, and she would start off at the bottom of her leg and go up and up and up. And you can't see my leg, and
No,
up,
yeah.
and then eventually she had to start on the other leg, and it went quite high. I've got to say, these garters up the upper leg. But I went on and won a Tiswas token, which unfortunately was an EMI record voucher. Nothing more exciting than that.
Oh,
And
shame.
and not only, but also I got a joke in the Tiswas summer special one year. They printed my joke.
And now all these years later, it's giving you the encouragement, mate, to talk about Leicester City as much as we can.
Yeah. Oh, I still use the joke now. Here we go. Are you ready?
I'm ready, baby.
I'll hit you with it. What do you call a bull when it's asleep?
No idea.
A bulldozer.
Oh.
Thank you. Yes, 8-year-old me was really proud of that, and as a 63-year-old me still is.
And people are saying that comedy's offensive nowadays, guys. You're just not going to the right source for comedy. Come here, we'll give you all the dad jokes you need. Come on.
Joe, I've no idea. And the guy's not here to defend himself. So whether Frank Worthington did that or not, I know not.
Put the comments up, Chris. I couldn't see that comment. Put it up at the bottom.
No,
there.
I'm not putting it up, so don't worry about that.
All right, no worries.
There's an accusation.
Okay.
Tiswas taken FA Cup medal to my League Cup. Tiswas token taken FA Cup medal to my League Cup Blue Peter badge. What can I say? And I nearly didn't get it. And you know what? I had to actually guess. It was it was only on the phone. It wasn't on the show. It was on the phone, but it was like a blank in the hand is worth two in the bush.
Yes, the classic old school sayings. Yeah.
And the third one, and I can't remember what the saying was, but would you believe it, which we didn't get, and my mum and dad weren't sure of it either. They had to give me lots of clues to get it, because you always won. Fox. The answer was a fox. Who knew all those years ago?
All I know is right now, Chris, is Leicester City aren't winning a Blue Peter badge. They're not winning a Tiswas voucher. They're not winning Player of the Month. They're not winning anything right now. So we probably get back to it. We're 15 minutes in, and all we've wanted to do is naturally talk about anything apart from
Let me just say this: Leicester City couldn't win a wank off in a whorehouse. So let us move on.
Let's get to it. Let's get to this.
These are the rumours, and these are the news that's been happening today. They have been fired. Let's just tell you what has happened here. They've sacked first team coaches Ben Dawson and Danny Alcock. Both have been only at the club since the summer when they were signed along with Steve Cooper, of course. He came in. A lot of Steve Cooper's men were sacked. Along with Steve Cooper, because of course when Steve Cooper came in, he had nobody to sort of carry him through, if you like. I always say sort of when Ranieri came in, he had Craig Shakespeare to talk him through. There was nobody there for Cooper. He brought all his own people in. Obviously, Enzo had taken all his people with him. Somebody said these have been thrown under the bus a little bit.
I could see that, yeah, Chris. I mean, I think it's interesting because in the relevance of, I think it's meant to be more of a statement from the club than actually anything else. I think it's meant to be of we're listening to you, so we're making changes. But let's be realistic here. If you go back to when Rude was hired, if he needed his own coaches in, he should have had them then.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have been halfway housing all this time to a point now we've now lost 12 games we could have got points from if we'd had a coaching team in place that Rude wanted from day one. So it's a halfway house, and it's actually, I think, a disappointing way to do it because it kind of makes scapegoats out of people we don't particularly know too much about. All we know
No.
is on the pitch it's not going well.
Yeah.
The set piece coach has been mentioned today as well, who obviously hasn't lost his job, but obviously our set pieces aren't particularly good either. So I don't understand what the difference is between him and these two gentlemen. So yeah, I'm a bit kind of like annoyed in some ways because I kind of think like Top's aware of what people are saying. Top's aware of what the narrative is. He says, we know this about the football club. So to do this seems a little bit of it seems a little bit of a halfway house scenario, Chris, which isn't really getting to the problem, is it? Because we've seen all the protests about John Rudkin and things above it. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I mean, I agree 100%. I mean, look, they were in charge for one game against Brentford when we were awful. And at the time, it was probably the worst we'd been all season. And it's hard to go. I mean, I know when Brendan left and we had a couple of staff take over there, they were there for 4 or 5 games and they didn't make any changes. These guys only had one game. So it's hard to sort of judge them on that, especially in a season when we're shit anyway. It says here, there's been no falling out between members of Leicester's first team coaching staff. Sky Sports News understands Van Nistelrooy wanted to effect some change with results so negative on the pitch and feels that having some different ideas and voices at training around match day might help that, and the club's bosses have agreed with the manager. I still think it's a little bit of a shit on these two, to be honest with you. What effect really do they have? All right, you need different voices. You're the fucking manager.
Yeah,
voice.
Well, exactly, Chris, and like, I'm not being funny. What the accountability of the manager is he's leading these coaches. If he doesn't want to lead these coaches, that's a different matter. But the way that it's come across there from what you've said is very much is a scapegoaty sort of thing, isn't it? It's very much like we need to make a change and we need to do something because everyone knows it's not going well. So let's do this. So I'm disappointed in it. I'm disappointed in like how it's happened because it isn't the problem. I don't feel. I mean, and here's the other thing as well. Right now, Feyenoord have just hired Robin van Persie. Right, he's just coming from Heerenveen. He's hired Rennie Mullenstein, who's a fantastic Dutch coach, and there are incredible numbers of incredibly good Dutch coaches out there who could work with Ruud and no Ruud. And for some reason, the way we've done this is so arse backwards that we've ended up missing all of them. Mullenstein coming in here with Ruud would have been such a coup for us because he is a very, very talented coach who's done great things for Manchester United. And we've missed out on these opportunities by how we've been managed. So once again, Chris, all this shows me is it goes back to the board and the owners, I'm afraid.
It does. And Jaap Stam actually came out and said, if you need me, Ruud, I'm here. Now, I don't know how good a coach Jaap Stam is. He wasn't particularly a brilliant defender for Man United.
Well, he's the one that got a waiver, according to Ferguson. Ferguson really rated him. I mean, as a manager, Chris, I think he's been quite limited, but I think as a coach, there's some potential there. Definitely.
Well, like I say, I can't. Yeah. In fairness, I don't know enough to judge the guy. But when you've got, like I say, people offering stuff. Now, obviously, we've got Andy King. Ex-Leicester player Andy King was promoted to the first team coaching staff last week, stepping up from the academy. He's now expected to play a more prominent role in preparing the team, but he's inexperienced. I love Andy King. Obviously, look, don't get me wrong, we all love Andy King. We all love Andy King. That's a given, right? But what experience really has he got?
Well, exactly, Chris, and that's it, isn't it? And there's an interesting nugget I read about this earlier in regard to Dawson, and that was that he was a Leicester-appointed guy who was going to be Leicester sort of in the background. And the same goes for Andy King, I think. He's a Leicester signing to be at Leicester, irrelevant of who the manager probably is. I think that's the way we like to do business. We've had the same with Mike Stow, haven't we? Goalkeeping coach. It's something we've done as a club, and it hasn't not worked. I think there's parts of it which carry across very well, because when I've gone into new jobs as a manager back in the day, the first thing you learn from is the people already there. You don't learn from yourself, you learn from the people existing. You have to have your eyes and ears open, otherwise you're going to fail before you start. So yeah, I just think that with where it is right now and everything like that, I just think we're still not getting it right, and we seem to be doing the long-winded way to get there. And the concern is, Chris, is that if it's this long-winded to get there, then by the time we get there, it's going to be way too late, as it has been this season, because we're already relegated, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, totally.
Irrelevant of changing coaches, we're already gone. We're gone.
And I don't know if, because there's various rumours about, well, have they got rid of these two so that he can bring his own in? He has still got Brian Barry Murphy and Jelly Ten Raulua. Excuse me,
goalkeeper.
Murdered his name there. A bit like you with those beer cans. But they remain in prominent coaching roles. With team with Andrew Hughes still a specialist coach in charge of set pieces. Well, I don't think he's doing a particularly very good job either, is he?
No, and the scary thing is, Chris, is that there's rumours about there that the players didn't want to do some set piece training he orchestrated or something. And look, it's rumours. I think a lot of it is probably extended and grown arms and legs. But there is a problem there if you're trying to utilise a set piece coach and you haven't scored from a set piece. No. And you barely. I mean, but to be fair, I will say something controversial here. Let's be controversial, like I was on Saturday. We're not bad at defending set pieces. We're bad at defending from open play. We're bad at defending from open play.
That is a fair point. Do you remember that the last relegation season? Getting a corner was as good as getting a goal for the opposition.
We went down because of corners, Chris. Honestly, it sounds daft. It was that much of a difference, but that also shows you the indication of what a difference you can make with a small bit of progress. So let's turn this into a positive right now. I don't mean you agree with this firing at all. I think a lot of Leicester fans are going, well, it's covering up a bigger problem, and it's still means John Rudkin, who's getting a lot of abuse, is still in the job. However, if they bring in coaches now and we're going to see some positive change on the pitch very quickly, then they give themselves another out, don't they? I think the problem is we don't really believe that's going to happen because of experience.
No, indeed. Time will tell. Now then, look, you mentioned his name there, a certain Mr. Jonathan Rudkin.
Yep.
Taking some stick off fans, both with banners and chanting, etc. Pundit blasts pathetic Leicester and puts club figure in crossfire. Again, now let's have a read of this. Former Sky Sports host Richard Keys blasted Leicester City's performance against Brentford as pathetic and says John Rudkin must be on borrowed time at the King Power Stadium. He's added on social media, Leicester were pathetic. How many more bad appointments can John Rudkin be allowed to make? When Van Nistelrooy goes, he's got to go as well. Just going to update a few things. So while I'm doing that, talk me through that then.
I completely agree with what Richard Keys has to say, and there's things I haven't agreed with what he's had to say, which is why he now works in the Middle East. But I would agree with what he said there. And the interesting thing is that you don't normally see pundits go in on people. They normally have to have a sort of line where they stay in the middle, right? But I think the fact that he is called out as someone who isn't watching the club as much as we are, and we've been screaming blue murder about this going back to the Adrian Silva transfer, haven't we? Where that all went wrong. That was a first sign, and there were signs before that this wasn't entirely right. What gets me, Chris, is that if Top and John Rudkin's relationship is very important, that is fine, but it needs to be in the right place for the football club to be beneficiaries of it. And what I mean by that is if he's crap, you take him somewhere else and he does some work somewhere else with you, but not here. And that is the problem for me, is that he can be involved, but if he isn't doing the job, then take accountability and go, we'll get someone else in to do that role and he can do something else. Would you agree with that?
What else could you do though?
Well, I'm guessing there's jobs at King Power he can probably work under if Top really obviously has a confidant in him. And look, we don't know personal relationships, and there's times we have questioned, are some of our personal relationships a bit too close, for a professional environment? But however, there is the counterbalance of that, as I think we succeeded more when we were a family club, and we were probably too close, as big clubs would be nowadays. So you got to take that into account whenever you make these decisions. But I think it is definitely now at the point where we've been shown, and also it's not fair to John Rudkin to be getting all this abuse every week if he's that crap. It's kind of like leading the idiot out for everyone to throw things at, isn't it? So why not just move him somewhere else in the club or in somewhere else, and let's get another director of football in. Top takes a step back and goes, I want you to run it. See what you do. Because then I think we've got a chance for change.
Yeah, I think we get to the point, and I tended to try and defend him last season and the season before, because he does. Let's be honest with you. If the toilets got blocked, in the away end, it would be his fault. That's the thing. And he was getting blamed for everything. But yes, all right, maybe he was getting things right when we were under Vichai, and the decisions were being made better, and fair dues, maybe he deserves some praise for that. But also, as good as you are in a job, things change. We've all been in places where we've been good at jobs for a few years, and then things tend to tail off a little bit, and then it's time to move on.
I was going to say, that's a good comment there, Chris. Chris, that comment there you just put up is a very good comment, because this is what I was going to get to next. So it's really funny you've brought that comment to come up now, and well done, Dacius 215. But the point is that, like, I get the impression with Ruud is that he's a very nice man, but sometimes when you go into somewhere being a nice man and trying to be friends with everyone, you're not going to get the answer if the club's in the crap. And we compare this to Nigel Pearson. I know Nigel Pearson's name's been mentioned a bit recently, and myself included. But the reason why it is because Nigel Pearson came in and owned it. I know Vichai was the boss, but actually Pearson was the boss. And when they fell out, of course, he got sacked. And then they learnt each other, felt each other out. But ultimately, Nigel Pearson was completely correct in what he was doing, and it showed, because we ended up winning a Premier League at the end of it. And that is the point. I wonder if Ruud, bless him, and I'm going to say bless him with that, because I think he's a very nice chap by all accounts. That's why Man United fans absolutely adore him to death. And but the problem is that he's coming in and he's not saying what he needs. I don't think he's probably not come in at the start and gone, I need these coaches with me to make this work. He's probably going, oh no, I love the opportunity, I'll work with these coaches. And there's a disparity difference there. And now we end up 12 games down the line and the crap. And it's like, well, we will change those coaches. So I think Ruud needs to actually either put his foot down more, or needs to, and we said this on Saturday, needs to probably go.
I'm going to bring this point up here. Dale says, quite rightly, he says, on a previous show, you apportioned 9% of blame to Rudkin in respect of accountability. He's clearly the biggest problem at the club. Kuhntop is just as culpable. Now, I will not argue with that, and I can't remember the exact figures. Obviously, Deadliest remembers it better than me, but I did apportion a small amount of the blame to John Rudkin, and I still say, to a point, John Rudkin still has to work within the parameters he's given. So, when we say that John Rudkin has given a crap contract to somebody, he's only given that crap contract because he's working within the amounts that he's allowed. He
Exactly.
Can't offer more than either Susan Whelan as head of the business or Top as head of the brand has said, right, that's the maximum. Now, if you've got a manager saying, I want this player, and John Rudkin goes in and he'll go and say, well, I'll offer you 20 grand a week. And the guy says, I want 100 grand a week, and he knows his limit is 75, and he says, well, I can't offer you 100. Well, what can you offer me then? Well, about 75. Well, he goes back to the manager and says, he doesn't want to come from that. I said, well, it's your job. Go and get him. Go negotiate with him. He'll go back. So he is working within the confines of what he's allowed to do. But at the end of the day, he's director of football.
Yeah, exactly. And the challenge is, Chris, is that as soon as you're a Premier League club, or even an English club now in the Championship, because we've seen some crazy figures going around for signings in the Championship now, haven't we, as well? As soon as any club abroad sees that, they're going to charge you a premium. That is a
Yeah.
reality. And that has no doubt made our lives more difficult. And it's no doubt going to make Brighton's life more difficult. It's going to make Bournemouth's life more difficult. And it's something that's only going to get more and more with player power, right? So I will say the one thing I will say is the players John Rudkin has signed, he has signed them based either off manager advice or his advice or whatever else. You can't guarantee what you're signing when you're having an interview is actually what you're going to get. I mean, I'd say Wout Faes on paper when we signed him, Belgian international, looks like he's the next wonder kid coming up. Yeah, it makes perfect sense for a Leicester signing. In practicality, this was the one that didn't work out in comparison with Fofana, Maguire, that did.
Exactly. John Rudkin does not go and say, this is the player I'm going to sign, and goes to Root and he said, well, you've signed me a midfielder. I don't need another midfielder. So he is, like we say, under instructions. That said, he is the one that everybody's having. And the question is, and a quick yes or no, if we sack John Rudkin, will it make Leicester City a better team?
No, not now.
Exactly.
No, and the point is, Chris, is that, and it goes back to what I was saying about Rude, about like how does he manage? It seems to me there's a lot of people in the kitchen here with knives cutting up stuff and putting stuff in the broth, but no one knows who's the leader really. I don't even think Top's particularly leading it. I don't think Rudkin's particularly leading it. I don't think Rude's particularly leading it, and that's the problem.
Alan Shearer writes off Ruud van Nistelrooy's huge gamble as failure after Leicester City boos. This again was talking about pundits. Alan Shearer is ready to write off Ruud van Nistelrooy's huge gamble as a failure after a pivotal weekend in the Premier League left the relegation battle almost done. Alan Shearer thinks that it's done and dusted now with Wolves winning, and the three that are in the Premier League relegation zone are the three that are going down. I'll tell you something, I don't think he's wrong.
No, I think he's 100% right, Chris. 100% right on what he said, And here's the problem. If you remove Leicester City from Ruud van Nistelrooy, Ruud van Nistelrooy is a failure because he's unfortunately had other clubs where he has walked out on and things haven't gone well. And it's interesting because it kind of seems to me like his challenge now with Leicester is he's facing a similar thing he faced before where he's walked out. And I'll give him credit that he hasn't, but I need to see him actually be angry. I need to see him be a bit more passionate about it. I need to see him go, I know I'm in this situation for a reason. I think it's a lesson he has to learn if he wants to be a football manager. So please, Ruud, go out there and learn that lesson, take accountability. Because if not, Chris, I'm going to be honest with you right now, I think his career is over as a manager. I think this will be it. I don't think he's going to get a new opportunity.
Possibly. Now, we mentioned this. We had a chat earlier on in the afternoon, and I noticed, and I didn't realise this at the time, because often when the match finishes, I take my headphones off that I'm listening to, and I get ready for the post-match reaction. But I think it was Jack from the Final Whistle, one of his videos on TikTok. You could hear. Sorry, just to come up. So I'm just going to very quickly go. 192 million of players going for free.
Yes.
Players not leaving due to how much they are being paid, and other clubs cannot match it. So they sit on their contracts and leave for nothing. Yes, they do. Again, how much of that is down to what? I mean, what is Rudkin supposed to do? If that manager is insistent that he wants that player, and therefore Rudkin has to go back and say, look, we really want you. What do you want? And they're asking for something ridiculous. And he goes back and the manager says, I've had a word with Top. Top said, go for it. I want that player. It's not, and then when you get players like Yuri Tielemans, another Belgian rat who left the club, walked out on it because that meant he got a better signing on deal. With 40 million, we were in debt. In PSR shit, that is 40 million that Yuri Tielemans cost us. He could have signed a new contract, and I'm getting annoyed now because again we're looking at this with tinted glasses. Sorry, dealers, but you're entitled to your opinion. I just actually happen to disagree with it because I think player power is too much in clubs these days. And Harry Maguire, when he left, knew he would be leaving. Signed a new contract, and that's why we got 80-odd million for him.
Yes, I was going to say.
Between a man and a rat like Tielemans.
And do you know what the difference is, Chris? The difference is the character we signed in Harry Maguire versus the character we signed in Yuri Tillemans.
Yes.
One of them is a much better player, don't get me wrong, but one of them's got a lot more character. And let's be real here, guys.
Indeed.
Let's be real. I know he's at Man United. I know he's had a difficult time. There's a reason he's still at Man United. He's not a
Yes.
bad person. He's not a bad person in the slightest.
And he's not a bad player. We've all said we'd have him back. Would we have Tielemans back? No, because he'd down tools that last season. He really had.
He did, and that's a great point that was raised there, Chris. That was a great point, because that point was that, like, I put this down to management. I put this down to Brendan, because I think if you're managing the club in the right way, like Nigel Pearson would have, or whoever else would have done, players don't do this. They don't want to do this.
No,
he won an FA Cup with Tielemans, was hugging him, and like Tielemans was nearly in tears. How a year later is he walking away on a free transfer?
Exactly.
That to me is unacceptable. But anyway, over to you.
Yeah. And I said the fact that we can't sell these players is not really down to Rudkin. Look, I'm not saying that we shouldn't sack Rudkin. Yes, I think we need to get some fresh ideas in.
We need to freshen it up, but we're not pro Rudkin, guys. Just to let you know, but we're just exploring it properly, as you should.
Yeah, I'm just trying to balance the argument out and responding to your point. But all those players that left, and it's 192 million of players going for free, as Dadle has said there. If players don't want to go, if Danny Ward does not want to go anywhere and he's happy to sit on his £80,000 a week on his arse and do nothing, what can we do about it? What can we do? Unless he goes and suddenly shags the tea lady's mother, and we can sack him, there's nothing we can do.
It's a shame, Chris, because Chelsea were like, in the summer, we're trying to get rid of players and basically pay them off, and they're trying to do it the way to get out of PSR, and the Premier League went, you can't do that, so they stopped. But if they got away with it, we could have done it.
Yes, yeah. Dadler said, "Are you blaming Cooper for paying 25 million for Skip?" Cooper wanted Skip. Skip was a Cooper signing.
We didn't need another midfielder.
What's going on about, mate? Respect you, but talk sense. I'm sure John Rudkin, who is not even a member of the recruitment team, didn't go, oh, look what I've got, you guys. I've got Skip for 20 odd, and it was 20 odd million. I don't think it was 25. I think it was 21. And I've got you Skip for 21 million. Oh, great. Thank you. Just what we needed. Yes, go and sign. For fuck's sake, he doesn't have that much power. Jesus Christ almighty. He would have been told Skip is available. Rude or somebody on this would have gone and said, he's available, see if you can get him. And he would have come back and said, we can get him, but they want 20 odd million for him. And he could not have done that without somebody else's permission. And Joe said here, and probably this says more about you, Joe, I wouldn't sign an Audi contract extension if Asda were prepared to pay me 10 grand. Well, maybe you should look at yourself then. Maybe you're not the sort of employee that Asda would want. Because I tell you something, if I was the boss and that was the sort of loyalty you had, I'd be thinking, fuck off. I wouldn't want
interesting.
You.
It's interesting, Chris, though, because it is horses for courses. Because I get that argument. Because when I was working for Iceland, I was headhunted to go to co-op, and they came and spoke to me, and they offered me more money, but I didn't take it, not out of loyalty, but actually I knew the working environment wouldn't be good, and I was getting a better working environment where I was. But other people are different. Other people have just gone, give me the money. I get that. That's a disparity of the world. But isn't that why we're here right now? Because we're looking at a situation where everyone's looking for different things. The board are looking for different things. And that's what we're trying to talk about it in a rational way to get us together.
I was headhunted and I went for more money. But I left that job with 4 weeks notice, which was in my contract. I didn't break any contracts. I didn't let the contract run down. I did it the proper way. Now, maybe that's the problem with football.
Yeah, I've got another one, mate. When I was in Canada, I was working for basically the Boots of Canada, Shoppers Drug Mart. I was working in an area called Weston in Toronto. If anyone's watching, nice to see you guys. I know you do check in now and again.
Just very quickly, mate. Just to say, Walsh wasn't the director of football. He was head of recruitment. So facts, get your facts right, Daedalus. Sorry, mate, but he wasn't the director of football. Sorry, do carry on.
No, it's only a quick point, mate. It was similar to the point before. I was offered to go to work at another Shoppers because they were basically franchises, so you could basically nick people and offer them more money, right? But the guy giving me a job really didn't have any reason to give me a job because I'm on a temporary visa, so I stuck with him because he gave me the opportunity and he gave me a pay rise, and we all won. So it's different horses, different courses. My point, mate.
maybe it is just the way football is run generally.
I think football's very away from us now, isn't it, Chris? It's
Yes,
very much big money. It's completely different now to us.
It's not the real world. And
No.
maybe, and I'm going to be honest with you here, Joe, coming back to you, maybe it says something about me that I was prepared to leave for more money, and I would accept that. You know, I am what I was just saying Tielemans was. I will accept that. The funny thing is, though, that some 8 weeks later, I went back to my previous employee, and they took me back with open arms.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, it's funny, Chris, though, isn't it? Because like I think it shows you like the nuances of decisions that we can't quite ascertain in just general discussion, especially when we haven't got all the information, right? I mean, we're trying here to go, what is wrong with Leicester City Football Club? The reality is we see there's many things wrong with Leicester City Football Club, and we're trying to work out the nuances of why.
Yeah. And I mean, everybody, this is what I love about these shows is Joe, Russ is in, hi Russ, 20 million, you're right. I thought it was 20 million or 21, but I thought it was more that than 25. Look, Joe, Daedalus, love the fact that you're arguing with me. I love it. That's what we don't want people in the chat that's just going to sit there and go, you know what, Chris? And occasionally it's nice to go, you know what, Chris, you're right. But also it's nice to have people actually come on and go, you know what, Chris, I don't agree with that. I think blah, blah, blah. And that's what that's what I like. So, guys, brilliant comments. Please keep them coming. And I respect 110% respect all your opinions. Talking of opinions, this was a bit telling at the end of the match because I didn't hear it, but I heard it on Jack's channel. The fans were singing. Jamie Vardy was the last one off the pitch, and they were singing Vardy, sort it out, which I don't think they were going to him about his form, although they could have been, but it's telling that they were asking Jamie Vardy to sort it out and not Ruud van Nistelrooy.
Exactly, Chris. Yeah, exactly. And also it's telling that once again, I mean, Jamie Vardy is an inspiration, irrelevant where we are right now, irrelevant of his personal performance to any young person wanting to be a professional footballer. Because the reason why Leicester and Jamie Vardy have such a love relationship, even in the harder times, that he is still being accountable. He was still at the end of the game walking around that pitch, applauding the fans, irrelevant of what he felt he gave, irrelevant what he felt his teams gave. And he had a look on his face, mate, of a man that looks like the world is resting on his shoulders.
Yeah.
And if 9 other players on that pitch, 10 other players on that pitch had half of that, we wouldn't be in the mess we're in. And what worries me is where we are right now is that we might end up getting relegated. He might end up leaving. It'll be a sour end for the Jamie Vardy legacy, which he doesn't want.
Yeah. No, Russ, I appreciate that, mate. I wasn't trying to argue. No. I know you weren't. I was just saying to Daedalus and Joe, who I was disagreeing with. I want them to disagree with me because that creates discussion. But I too totally, I say, respect what they're saying. Okay, here's something for you then before we move on. We're gonna go an hour through. We've not even started the game yet, but I love this. I love this channel. Thank God we cancelled the second show tonight. Here's something for you then. Look, Jamie Vardy, he stuck with us. You know, he said out. You know, Leicester wanted me when nobody else wanted me. Yuri, and he stuck with us, and fair play. And the guy, to be honest with you, I think yes, Kuhn-Top maybe deserved his statue, but shouldn't we have one for Claudio Ranieri? Shouldn't we have one for Gordon Banks? We definitely, I think, possibly should have one to Jamie Vardy. But when he retires, and I think he will retire at the end of this season,
I think so.
And not all players go out on a high. A lot of them go out and move down the leagues and play at a lower level just so they're able to keep playing. Director of football, Jamie Vardy.
Well, it could be, Chris. I mean, I'll put it back to this, right? When things get really hard, you know what my default setting is? I think back to Nigel Pearson because that's when things were really hard before and he came in and sorted it out. Yeah. And Jamie Vardy was someone he signed. And Jamie Vardy has that Nigel Pearson quality. Andy King has that Nigel Pearson quality. Otherwise, he wouldn't have succeeded under Nigel Pearson. So I'm happy to see people like Jamie Vardy being considered for this because I emotionally know they're going to come from the right place as a start. And we're questioning that about other people in management right now, haven't we?
Yeah.
That's a big difference. Yeah.
We are going to get onto the match, but one more thing before we do. You remember years and years ago when a team got through an FA Cup final or they won the league, they used to release a record.
Yes, I remember the songs.
You may know what's coming here if you've seen my my social media feeds today, but we have got a new Leicester City record coming out. It's a duet. It's not I Know Him So Well, but it's Susan Whelan and John Rudkin.
Oh, wow.
Of Max and Paddy's Road to Nowhere. Because that's where they're taking us, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. That's a scary photo of Susan Whelan. I'm so glad she's very much gender identified already, or that'd be quite controversial.
Well, that's obviously her face over Peter Kay.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, but yeah, it's I don't even know where to go with this, Chris, because like I say, I look at the management and I go, well, are they answering to Top, or is Top looking for them to lead? And I kind of feel it's that disparity. It's kind of like this yin and yang, which doesn't quite work because both sides are looking for the opposite from each other. So yeah, I think we need to get to the bottom of this, or like you say, put them on a road. Hey, to be fair, Chris, why don't we do it? Why don't Leicester City Football Club as a channel send out them on a little road trip together to go around scouting and make a YouTube series out of it? We get millions of hits.
Yeah, or maybe hopefully they just never come back.
Exactly. Either way, it'll be better.
When I put this post up and this guy said, I mean, this is what gets me about social media. He says, John Rudkin, blah, 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 blah. Susan Whelan has got nothing to do with it. She's the person that's running the business side of the club whilst we are losing money and being charged with PSR. She's got a hell of a lot to do with it. All she seems to be good of is going up and collecting awards, because that's every fucking picture of her on YouTube is her collecting an award.
Yeah, well, it's funny, isn't it? Because you go back to last summer when the fans were getting a bit funny about like the money coming into the club, and then we end up getting the BC Games sponsorship, right? So we end up with this new sponsorship, which no doubt Susan Whelan was involved in, and of course all this stuff has come out. We had a show on it, what is going on with BC Game and all the rest of it. And like you look at it then and go, well, she was probably trying to get the money in, the most money she possibly could for that shirt sponsor to give you PSR. But yeah, but then there's also the element of obviously they're a crappy company. Sorry,
it was down to three. All three were betting companies, and they were offering the most money. So I understand it, and at the moment they haven't gone bust, and they haven't been charged, etc., etc. So they are all top. But what I'm saying is, she cannot sit there and be totally blameless.
No, she can't at all. No, she can't at all. No, I completely agree with that, and I think the problem is, Chris, is like you say, today we've seen a day of scapegoats. We've seen a day of these two are going to be blamed and they'll be sacked consequently. But the problem is that the blame doesn't lie just with those two. It lies with every single person.
Yes, indeed. Right. We've finally got round to the match and we'll do it straight after this.
Hello, Matt Elliott here.
Hi, Alan Smith here.
Hey guys, Ian Hume here.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here.
Be sure to watch
Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV
for all the latest Leicester City news and information.
You can also subscribe on YouTube and various social media channels
for the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Come on, you foxes!
Do you know what, mate? We could do with a couple of them players back, couldn't we?
Well, at least you know they're going to play for the badge, Chris, isn't it? And that's been part of the problem, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, look, the weekend's Premier League action, I think that guy was me earlier on today. I've called it there, not fit to wear the shirt, 0, Brentford FC 4. But I want to go back a week because I was sat with Alan Birchnell's son, Dean Birchnell, pre-head injury. Can I say, when I left him, he was absolutely all right. It's only after I left him that he fell backwards and cracked his head open. He is fine, though. Good to see you okay, Dean. He was away for Friday night's game, the lucky bugger. It's amazing when you sat in a nice, hot environment, as it was in Lanzarote, with fan going, nice ice. And I don't just mean chilled. I mean ice cold beer with ice in, and you were watching your team things don't look as bad. Now, from what, as I say, and don't get me wrong, I'd had a few. Okay, I mean, I know it was a 12:30 kickoff, but I'd already had a few. You had a bit of a rant about this game.
I did, yeah. And I'll tell you what my rant was about, Chris. My rant was about for 80 minutes, we had a plan to stifle Arsenal, to make things very difficult for them. And we did it. And then we lost to a team with no strikers. And that's what frustrated me, because it was kind of like that whole thing, what we're saying of why are we repeating the same madness every week? I don't expect us to go out there and outplay Arsenal, but I was kind of like impressed with how we didn't get done over by them in 80 minutes. And I thought, well, we've kept ourselves in it. So if that's the strategy, okay, it goes back to what Cooper was trying. You go and win the game. And we did it against Spurs, you know? And I thought Arsenal, and sorry, Arsenal fans, I know you would like to hear this. I don't think you were much better than Spurs on that day. I think you can be. On that day, you weren't much better. So that's what annoyed me, mate. The fact that, once again, it was a glaring opportunity, I felt, of a bit more tactical nuance in the last 10 minutes after we'd done the hard graft, to then change it up and go and win the match we should have won at home. I think that annoyed me. Yeah.
There we go. Like I say, I wasn't. We didn't do the show that week because I was, like I say, I could show you my white bits, but it's before the watershed, so I won't. Much to everybody's relief.
I won't if you won't, Chris. Then we'll do both of us a favour.
Prashant is in. Hi, mate.
Hey,
how are you doing? And Kyle is in as well.
Hey,
I'll tell you what, I wouldn't say I was only there a week and put a few photos up on Facebook, and Tom wants to go over and buy a bar out there.
I was looking at a bar out there. It's true, Chris. I was like, dude, do you want to buy this? So, guys, like, if anyone who's watching the channel is a rich benefactor who would like to sponsor me and Chris, like, we're more than happy to go and do podcasts talking about Thunderbirds and anything else apart from Leicester City, as long as you provide us with some sunshine and a few beers.
Yes. Yeah, we've talked about that. Sorry, Carl's just said about the sacking of the coaches. Yeah, we've just been talking about that for an hour. Yeah, I mean, I don't recognise the bar where it was up for sale, but my mate who I went with actually owns an apartment out there, so hopefully we'll go again.
Well, I was going to say, get him to look at that thing for me, mate, because if it's worthwhile investing in, you know, who knows? Maybe we should do a top and, you know.
We may, well, if we go back, who knows? Who knows? Sky didn't speak very highly of us. Leicester City thrashed by Brentford in huge step back as fans turn on Fox's Sky Sports. And I think thrashed is putting it politely. But what I wanted to talk about, first of all, is a toxic atmosphere around clubs as fans turn on fans on social media. And I've seen this, and I suppose I get this running the Leicester Till I Die group, you know, on all the different social medias. Is the number of people that I have to ban from it. There are certain sets of rules, and some people call them a bit okay. I mean, I don't like calling somebody a plastic fan will not get you banned, but it will get your comment removed, because I don't think anybody, you're either a fan or you're not. And I hate the term plastic fans.
Not
but as somebody who runs these things, I put things up that aren't always my opinion. But I put things up like TalkSport do, like all the talk shows do, to create a response. Now, if you disagree with me, great. Let's have a little bit of an argument or whatever, or discussion. But like we did earlier with Joe and Daedalus, let's have a disagreement. But I never once called them a name. And they once called me a name. And yet it goes on to Facebook and it's, oh, you're a thick twat. You know, you're putting up stupid fucking posts, and you know, it's like
it's bonkers.
It is, and and that's the horrible thing about this. And I've seen it happen before when we were struggling. Whenever we struggle, we turn in on each other, and I don't know if the club, you know, whether the clubs know that or not.
No, well, let me revolutionise. Sorry, I can't even say that. Revolutionise the fan base. Let's be real. If we wanted to have an angle here, the Premier League has wanted us to fail for a long time. They've chucked every points deduction they ever could at us. They've taken us to court. They've done this and this and this, right? Okay, so let me say this to the fan base. Right now, us infighting and calling each other's names is making them all laugh at us. because that's entirely what they wanted. Because so like I view it the Nigel Pearson way and the Jose Mourinho way. We need to have a common enemy here, and we're not enemies of each other. We're gonna have different opinions. We're gonna have different banter. That's fine. But we're all the same club. We're all the same fan base. And the last time we were so united, we won FA Cups and Premier Leagues. So we know the effect of doing that. So I'll say to people, look, just keep that in mind. It's never personal. There's things I say here, and I even said it to Rude, to Top, and everything else. It's actually not personal. It's more, I look at it this way. I prefer to say the truth about it rather than lie to their face. If I met Top, for example, and shook his hand, I'll say to him, mate, thank you ever so much. I honestly, thank you. A lot of love for you. I just think that you need to step away and just let someone else have a go. Because I think it's doing your health no good. It's doing your relationship with fans no good. And I think there's other ways we can do it. And I think it'll be better for you. But you've got to own that, Chris, in the right way. And I think what you're saying there is people are leaning into pot shots, which we don't need to be doing.
No, exactly. At the end of the day, we're all fans of the club. And, you could argue if you just sit there and go, oh, aren't Leicester wonderful? We'll get out of this. We'll have a great escape to whatever. That doesn't make you any less of a fan. In fact, I think in a lot of ways, it makes you less passionate than the guys that come on here and go, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it's a balance, Chris, isn't it? I mean, and the thing is, like, it is what it is. We're going to get upset by it. Of course we are. But then things upset you in life. It doesn't mean you go around and get a knife and start attacking beer cans.
Yes. True. Right. Now, after Friday night, but before the Saturday games, this was everybody's percentage chance of going down. Ipswich, Leicester, and Southampton's has just gone up, I believe. I haven't got the up-to-date graph or graphic, but as good as 95% guaranteed that we are going down. There's just no fight there. With the Pearson thing, we're not going to do another Great Escape. Believe you me. When Rude took over, we had 6 teams in the relegation fight. Well, 7 in fact. Palace are out of it, Everton are out of it, and was there another one? I can't remember.
West Ham.
But yes, and West Ham.
Yeah.
And excuse me, I know they've dropped down again, but they're still
clear.
on. They're clear.
Yeah.
So it's down to 4 points. Wolves beat, and we'll come on to that game later. Wolves beating Bournemouth didn't do us any favours, but they are now we're now 5 points behind them. With West Ham, Manchester City, Manchester United, Chelsea all coming up. Are we preparing? Should we be preparing for the Championship now?
100%. Yeah. I mean, I'll give us 1%. We might stay up, Chris. 99% that is probably over with. I mean, just look at the table there. Look at the goal difference versus Wolves versus Ipswich, Leicester, and Southampton. That already is a big indication of where you are as a side irrelevant of points. If you're that many goals behind, then you're conceding too many. And like you say, the fixtures we got coming up, I don't see us getting clean sheets against Man City or Liverpool, for example, who are just on another level. And we're getting what we deserve, unfortunately, Chris. And do you know what's really quite weird about it? I kind of feel worse for Ipswich than I do for us. I think Ipswich have actually had a go and they've not been good enough. Whereas I don't think we've really actually organised ourselves in the most productive manner or been run particularly in the best way.
And let's not forget, with that fantastic result on Saturday, we are now Premier League record breakers.
Yes, 6 home games without scoring a goal.
And I've got to say, can I just say, did I say Premier League record breakers then? Because it's actually top flight record breakers. So not just the Premier League. This is what it says. City became the first team in the history of the English top flight to lose 6 consecutive home matches without scoring in the same season. So we're not just set a Premier League record. We've set a first division. This is going back to when the balls were leather. And,
yes, when Sheffield FC was around.
Exactly. Thank you, Rude. Thank you so very much. This is what you've given. It is utter embarrassing. And look, there you've got the thing pre-Van Nistelrooy and under 13 games played. before and 13 games played after. All right, only 3 points different, but those 3 points we'd kill for now. 16 goals scored under Cooper, 9 under Ruud van Nistelrooy. It's funny, Brunetti scored a couple of goals. He can't get a start. Our expected goals have dropped from 13.4 to 10.9. Our goals conceded have gone up from 27 to 32. Our expected goals against has dropped a little bit from 25.7 to 24.9. 1 clean sheet, and that one was under Steve Cooper. Nothing under Ruud van Nistelrooy. That is damning.
It is damning, Chris. And you know what's damning about it is it shows there wasn't due diligence done by the board in regard to the appointment, because to end up appointing someone who has done what Cooper was doing, but worse, and we were moaning about what Cooper was doing, is obviously a complete cock-up. Because at that point, and we talked about David Moyes, right? I mean, I said at the time I wanted David Moyes instead of Van Nistelrooy because I felt he was going to do something different. And I think that was the point. I was happy with Ruud because I thought maybe, I fell into the love of it. Like,
the
name of it. He could play some fancy Dutch football. Maybe there's something here. We got a little bit here and there. But the reality is, no, I was above my station and we should have gone another way. But that's what disappoints me, Chris. It's almost like I go back to Enzo as well being appointed, and I go, Enzo was an appointment as a short fix to a bigger problem, and it worked, but it didn't fix the underlying problem. And now we're a year or two down the line, and we've now got no assets to sell apart from maybe 1 or 2. We had assets then, and now we're just completely ruined as a club because we didn't deal with it in the first place.
Indeed. And I mean, therefore, going on what you're saying, how much blame should Ruud take? I mean, we've all gone for, and I've gone for a job. I've had a job in the past where I was offered the job, so therefore the people that offered me the job thought I could do it. When it turned out, I was completely out of my depth. Whose fault is that? Is that my fault because I'm doing a shit job, or is it the people that employed me because they didn't realise that I wasn't the best fit for that job?
It's the people that employ you, Chris, because ultimately, if I employed anyone, I'd look at it this way. I've either employed someone because I think they're good enough, or if they aren't good enough, I'm the person to make sure they are good enough. That simple. There we go. And you'd have to take a knife to yours.
An hour and a minute, and it's finally talking about Leicester has got me absolutely needing the alcohol.
Just a quick one unprofessionally, we should be off camera when we say this. Do you realise the next watch along is going to be Thursday night with West Ham on Thursday, mate?
Yes, I did, unfortunately.
Yeah. I saw it earlier and I went, fucking hell, it's come quick.
But no, that is a very, very good point, you know, who actually is to blame.
So I put it back to the infighting on the pitch, Chris, we saw on Saturday. People like Ndidi pointing fingers. And at that point, I said, bottom line is, if you're the manager and your players are doing that, you're the problem, not them for doing it. You've not set them up enough to stop them doing it.
And then, of course, Ruud came out with the typical, like, it shows they've got passion.
Great. Well, you've got to control that passion, Ruud, and make sure they're putting it in the right place. That's exactly what I would do. I'd be like, I want you to be passionate. Go and make sure it does something. Come on, wake up, Ruud.
Hi Rich, how you doing? Manchester United. I think that's probably another record. I don't know whether any other top flight team has played one team 4 times in the same season and lost all 4 games, but that could be coming up soon. Could any manager have kept Leicester up?
That's
that's interesting because, and I'm going to say probably not.
David Moyes, after what he's done with Everton, look at David Moyes. What he's done with Everton.
David Moyes was never going to come.
No, he wasn't. No, we'll say that, guys. He wasn't. He was waiting for Everton. It was obvious. Of course, he was.
Yeah. He didn't want a relegation fight, and I get that. No. But Everton, they're his club, aren't they? Really?
Yeah, of course. You know. But this is why I want Nigel Pearson back now, Chris.
There's his record. I mean, look at when we went down to League One. Everybody blames Ian Holloway, and he did have a lot to answer for. But
Barry Hales,
was he that bad a manager? Because the season after that, he took Blackpool to the Premier League.
It's funny because you mentioned Ollie, and I don't dislike Ollie. You know, you got us relegated.
No.
I don't dislike him.
I met him. My son was a ball boy at a Leicester game, and I met him, and he absolutely had no fucking idea what he was talking about, but lovely guy.
Yeah, absolute lunatic. Sort of guy you find in the pub in Devon and you go, fucking hell, he's a bit of a character, yeah.
But he wasn't that bad a manager, like I say, because he got Blackpool to... Anybody would have taken that club down. We were just there waiting to go down. Would we be better off still under Cooper? I reckon we might be, to be honest with you, but look, we wanted Cooper out. They got him out. Maybe they were listening to the fact. I don't know. But there we go. Would a different manager...
I think Cooper wasn't the problem.
No. I think as well, I think what is the problem? Giving managers 3-year contracts.
Yeah, this is daft, Chris. Yeah, your position we're in.
Sign them on a 1-year rolling contract.
Agreed.
They will give you a year, keep us up, and we'll extend it.
Absolutely. I completely agree.
Problem is, Ruud van Nistelrooy would have gone, get lost.
Doesn't it show you the effect of player power now and the effect on agents in football? Because there's no doubt, Chris, we've probably pissed away 500 million quid's worth of money. And you think you get 180 million pounds a year in the Premier League. I don't know how 500 million you're throwing away equates to 180 million. You know, it doesn't add up, does it? That's why we're in trouble, mate.
No. Ronald, I'm going to come to that point, actually, when we get to the Chelsea match later. Right, okay, so yeah, it's not a good record that he's got there, is it really? Now, Sky Sport, Ruud van Nistelrooy's team are supposed to have a go. Well, Leicester's goals per game has dropped from 1.2 under Steve Cooper to 0.7 under Van Nistelrooy, and they've scored 4 league goals in their last 10 games, taking just 3 points from a possible 30 on offer. I just don't think it's defensible, is it?
No, I tell you what the problem is, well, mate, is that like he's obviously to end up in a position where he's playing more defensive than Steve Cooper. He's obviously seen enough to be quite anxious and create an anxious environment. I said this before. I just want somehow, by some miracle, for a way to the players to have almost the concern released from them. I know it sounds a little bit weird to say, but the ones that really want to be at Leicester and are really trying hard, like Jamie Vardy, they seem full of concern, and it's weighing them down and making them play awfully. I think you need to come in now as a manager, whoever it is, and like I say, Ruud's probably going to be here, but my angle now would definitely be we need to be free of concern and be much more positive in our approach, irrelevant of the outcome, because we're beating each other up now. Yeah.
We touched on this earlier, chance of Vardy sort it out, and I do honestly think that is indicative of how we feel towards Ruud, that we don't think that he can sort it out. And as we also said earlier, Premier League record breakers, but it's not just Premier League, it's top flight. But this is interesting because this is the match stats, tail of the tape, if you like. Shots on target, 3 versus 6. Shots, 8 versus 14. Block shots, 2-5 to 5. If you look down there, now I'm not going to read them all out because you can see them there. It's not a huge gap.
No, it's not. And I'll say under Cooper, mate, we've had gaps which are bigger than that, and we've got points, which shows you the difference of style of football versus what you're doing. I mean, maybe that's our last hope, Chris. Maybe our last hope is what's happened today with the moving on of coaches. Maybe Ruud will have someone in the door tomorrow, and then we're going to start doing something slightly different on the training pitch, perhaps. And maybe then these figures might change the actual overall figure that matters, which is how many points you're getting.
But shouldn't the coaches be doing what Ruud's telling them to do?
Yeah, no, this is my point exactly. This is why I'm surprised with how it's taken so long to get to this point, really, because this is where we should have started from. It makes me wonder, did we sell Tom Cannon to be able to afford to buy these guys out of their contract? Is it that bad, Chris? Is it that bad we've had to sell some players to pay off coaches we don't want at the club anymore? And if that's the case, then I think we've got to be realistic here, and we've got to realise that we're in for a tough decade, probably, if we do go down.
Yeah. Well, the question, I'll put this out there. Has anybody got a paddle by any chance? If anybody's got a spare paddle, send it to top care of KP Stadium, Filbert Way, Leicester.
And some buckets.
If I look, I've always said Leicester fans love to hate on a player. We always seem to. It's Luke Thomas. It's been recently. It was Ben Chilwell before that. We've always liked to have a player that we can pick on. Perez even. Would you say I had a player that I was picking on a bit?
I would, yes. I think there's one in particular that comes to mind that you don't particularly like very much. Yeah. Would he have a number 3 on the back of his shirt?
And his name is?
Well, I can never pronounce it right, so I'll go with his name is Wout.
Wout Faes, whatever you want to say. This is his stats. Now, these are his stats for the last, believe it or not, last 12 months.
Wow.
So let me just go up there before we come to the actual match. I don't know what a lot of these things are. I'm not looking too much on the right-hand side because that's
attacking.
That's attacking on what have you. So it's the red that we need to concentrate on. Clearances 89 in a year.
Yeah, that's not a lot.
You know, I mean, in a year, how many games are you playing? Well, we play. How many do we play in a?
38. So, I mean, that's average it, Chris. I'll say 45 at most if you have a cup run. 45 if you have one cup run.
We'll run it up to 50 because we played more games in the Premier League.
Well, it's 38 Premier League games. You think you can have
the Championship? Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. That's fine. Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is I expect us as a club to have one good cup run and one we go out in the first round, which will probably be about another 4 games, wouldn't it? Yeah, so
we'll round it up to 60. So he's played around 60 games, shall we say.
Okay.
Yeah. Because he played most games. 89 clearances.
Yeah, it's not a lot. No.
But
then is he being
94?
Yeah. I mean, none of these things are high numbers, Chris. I mean, the disparity to me is he being told to put it into touch or is he being told to retain possession? What part of this is the tactical element of it? And of course, that's something we don't know. And I'm not defending him because ultimately
defending a defender.
Defending a defender. I mean, if I was defending him behind, mate, maybe we wouldn't concede half as many fucking goals. But but no, I mean, it's not good enough. It's not good enough.
36 tackles and interceptions, and 64% of aerial battles won. Like I say, it doesn't look good. Possession on the left. So if they will ignore the blue because that's attacking. Passes attempted 25. Pass completion 41%. I mean, that's low to say that half his passes are to bloody Amanston.
Well, also he's a ball playing defender. You'd expect that to be in the 70%er.
Yes, yeah. Progressive carries 28, successful take-ons 45, 27 touches. I don't know how that works out. But what is even more important, because last time we played Brentford, he did not put one tackle in. He went through the whole game without putting a tackle in. All right, the whole team was shit that day. Brentford come around again, and yes, the whole team is shit, but I'm looking at this guy because he keeps getting picked. Played 90 minutes. He had 59 touches.
Yeah, this is crap.
2 tackles.
Crap.
1 interception and 3 blocks.
Crap.
Is that, and look, he is against Akoli, who is the new boy. But he's the experienced defender. Is that what we want from our experienced centre-back?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, it's terrible. He definitely strikes me as a character, Chris, that is very worried about what position he's standing on the pitch, and then that's his out if he doesn't actually do anything. He seems very much like I'm going to look like I'm having a good game, but am I actually doing it? Yeah. And I think it was said by another pundit on TalkSport. It's kind of like some Leicester players look like they're shirking responsibility away from the ball, right? Sideshow Bob, yeah. It's funny because the David Luiz comparison, I think, comes from not just his hair, but the fact that he's better when he's not actually defending. So you're better off putting him in midfield if you're going to play him, as I've said for a long time. As I've said for a long time, because then he's not going to be damaged to defend. But that isn't good enough, irrelevant the fact he's meant to be a defender. So no, Chris, it's not good enough. And here's the thing that's going to annoy all of us. We all know what's going to happen. He's going to leave in the summer. He's going to go to somewhere in France probably, and he'll be playing for Belgium, and he'll probably be renowned as this great player. Do you just think, so what has gone wrong here?
No, well, the funny thing you say, because in the last international break, and obviously we've got another one coming up next month. In the last international break, he was playing for Belgium, obviously, and a Belgian national newspaper rated him in the national team from that game 0.
Yeah, which is remarkable, isn't it? I mean, but then if there is one club out there, apart from Manchester United, that could probably challenge Leicester on backroom toxicity, it would be the Belgian national team with Courtois and De Bruyne, wouldn't it?
Well, possibly.
So I can kind of see, but then we should be inviting that into our dressing room.
Yeah. Right, you mentioned them earlier, Everton.
Yeah.
Now, they've changed since David Moyes took over. Pre that and Sean Dyche, for a Sean Dyche team, they weren't particularly good defensively.
No, it's funny because I felt Sean Dyche kept them in a place of like that concern, like I was talking about before. And then Moyes has gone in and taken away the concern, and they've just been free flowing.
Well, I thought it would be interesting on this season so far to compare Wout Faes with an Everton defender. Now,
I know who you're going to choose. Someone unpopular.
You will do, because I told you earlier.
Oh, yeah, you did. Sorry, you did. Yeah, carry on.
For fuck's sake, mate.
I forgot that completely, mate. Sorry.
Guys, before we went live, I and this is about 3:00 this afternoon. I probably had a few cans since then, but 3:00 this afternoon, I did go through the shows just so that he knew what was coming up where, so he wasn't sort of blindsided, which is not fair to anybody. And I showed him this, and I told him who I was comparing. You'd have gone for this guy and said, "Yeah, you see, I told you it was going to be him." Yes, of course.
I'm literally like the sort of director of football who goes, "Yeah, I signed this player because he's really good." And the manager goes, "Yeah, I told you he was good." And I was like, "No, you didn't. I don't remember that."
Yeah. Well, the guy's played all season for Everton, so he's played most of his games under Dyche when they weren't doing well. But I thought it would be very good to compare Mr. Wout Faes with Mr. James Tarkowski.
He was linked with Leicester, wasn't he, Tarkowski, at one point as well?
Yeah. Leicester wanted him. Wanted him. I think he wanted to stay up north because obviously he's a Burnley lad. He was at Burnley. I don't know if he's a Burnley lad or not. So he's played more games because you can see there on the right is James, and green is better than red. Oops, who knew? Clearances, 115 for Wout, 164 for James. Interceptions, 18 against 33. Block shots, 25 against 33. Clean sheets, 1 against 9. That's not just down to the one player, obviously. Goals conceded, only 33 to our 44. Shots on target faced. Well, that's nothing to be proud of being top of, is it? Let's be honest with you. But 44 to 33. I mean, that, to me, again, when you're in a team like Everton, last season only just stayed up. The season before only just stayed up, if you remember. So they've had almost 2 full seasons. They've had half a season of Sean Dyche when he just kept them up. Last season, a full season. And this season, half a season. And yet, he's got those sort of figures this season compared to Wout Faes. I rest my case that Wout Faes should never, ever, ever wear a Leicester shirt again.
Yeah, I completely agree, mate. Because Tarkowski, the same way, was viewed on the scrap heap by Everton fans at one point, in a similar way like we view Faes. So it shows you, doesn't it? How many times in history as Leicester City fans, mate, have we seen a player leave Leicester who's been this and that here and not been very good and gone on to have a career somewhere? And it seems to be something that haunts us a little bit. But being reminded of it now in this moment, seeing these figures, I keep going back to the same thing, mate. It's got to be management, hasn't it? Because otherwise, how do these figures change so quickly overnight? Because he was in the Woot territory before he had a new manager coming in, David Moyes.
But do you remember as well, when we signed Woot, that was the season we got relegated?
Yes, it was. Yeah. I wonder if it was a desperate sign just to get another centre back in. Yeah. Yeah.
And we got Sutar, who's a very good centre back, and he can't get a game.
Sutar's problem Yeah, his problem, mate, is that he's got the same pace as Vestergaard, which is unfortunate because if he had an inch more pace than Vestergaard, I think he'd had a look in.
Do you want me? Should we make things even worse than they currently are?
Oh God, how can we do that?
We can look at our upcoming fixtures. I know.
Sorry, I was nearly sick. Oh my God.
A little bit of sickness came up in your mouth then, didn't it? Yes, I'm afraid so. So we've got West Ham away, and the last time we played them, we beat them 3-1.
They just beat Arsenal. West
know.
Ham just beat Arsenal.
Yes,
Come off it. Come off it.
No, that was what happened last time, mate.
No, I know. No, I know it's not you. I know. This is my point. I'm saying, like, we're meant to be going into this go, West Ham's the best we got, and we just played Arsenal. We can't beat, and they've easily beaten them.
Chelsea, who are on a little bit of a bad run, but you know that will end when they play us. Manchester United, who were very lucky, and we'll talk about that game later, very lucky to get a point. Manchester City, who are, well, have they turned it around? I'm not sure, but they're still going to beat us. Newcastle, well, what a game they had. Brighton, Liverpool, and even Wolves, who stuffed us 3-0. Those are our next 8 games. Being honest, how many points do you see us getting?
My honest answer is 1. 1 against Brighton, and that's it.
I would agree with 1.
Who do you think is against?
I have a feeling West Ham.
And you might be right, because they're not free scoring yet, are they? But
No.
we're going to have them have a bad day in order to get that point. Yeah.
We need every team we play to have a bad day, otherwise we don't stand a chance.
Oh, absolutely.
but no, I just think that that could be where we get the point, because Potter hasn't had the effect on West Ham that Moyes has had on Everton.
No, not quite. But I think in some ways it's a difficult challenge, West Ham, because they'd obviously gone and changed manager style very, very swiftly there, and it didn't work out for them at all, did it? To hire an ex-Real Madrid manager.
I think they'd have been safe under their old manager.
I think they probably would have been. I think it was similar to Crystal Palace, wasn't it, Chris? Remember when Crystal Palace was struggling? But I said at the time when we were doing the reviews that they've got a lot of injuries and give them a bit of time. Look what happened. As soon as they're all back, they're on the same page and they're flying again now, aren't they? Yeah, so I agree with you. Yeah, so it's not, I mean, it's not walking into Leicester, is it, walking into West Ham? West Ham won the Europa League, 2 years ago, or Conference League 2 years ago. Yeah.
Right, everybody. This is the moment. If you ever want to see Tom eat his words, he has his speech ready. We will fight them on the beaches. We will fight them in the towns. Now, if anybody was watching the watch-along, or not necessarily the watch-along, but the post-match reaction straight after the watch-along on Saturday, you will know that we do our performance and our man of the match predictions. Now, we do it for a bit of fun because the official performance and man of the match is done by Alan, and Alan goes to 99% of the games every season, and if he doesn't, he watches them on the telly. So he's very much my sort of age plus, if you like. So he's not one of the youngsters. He's very honest, and I've only in about 5 seasons I've only ever overruled him once, and that was taking him down from a 1 to a 0. Now he gave the team performance a 1, right? So that's the official marking, right? I gave them a half for the first 10 minutes.
Yeah. What did Tom do?
Jim gave them a 3, Wayne a 2, Kate a 3, Brad, now I gave him half, Brad gave -10. That's how annoyed he was. And Thomas here, gave him a 5, a performance of a 5, which, again, if you've watched the thing, not often I'm lost for words. I think people thought my screen had frozen. I was like, Tom,
I prepared a statement on this, Chris, because it caused quite controversy at the time, and so I need to explain it. Thank you for the full screen for this, and sorry I look so rough. I've always said I've got a face for radio, guys, so listen to me, don't watch me. But no, please watch us. Dear viewers and contributors of Leicester Till I Die television, I'm in a fortunate position on this channel where I have the luxury and privilege of being able to talk to you about my thoughts and feelings when it comes to Leicester City Football Club. However, with great power comes great responsibility. And I, after the watch along on Friday, whenever it was, gave the team a score of 5 out of 10 for performance against Brentford, where they lost 4-0. I am man enough to sit here and tell you all I was wrong. I was attempting to drive a conversation in regard to player work rate against the tactical nuances of our manager. However, that was lost in translation by myself, by poor communication from myself, also indicated by the element of alcohol consumption by the end of the game. So I want to actually apologise for such, because my point was lost in transition. So there was no reason for me to give them a 5 out of 10. I will own that I did it, but the reality should be more of a 1 or a 2, Chris. And back to you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity for speaking.
I have never heard such bullshit in all my life since I last watched the Ruud van Nistelrooy press conference.
Maybe I'll be the next manager. Oh, mate, I was just like, I've got to get out of this somehow, because I completely basically, I had a point to doing it, but I completely misinterpreted my point of doing it. So I was like, you know what? In life, Chris, sometimes you got to eat shit and like the taste of it. And my point by doing that is just to also show Ruud van Nistelrooy, if he watches this, you get stuff wrong, mate. Own it and change it, for God's sake. Let's not turn up with Decordova, Reed, and bloody Ayew on the wing next week.
I love that. I'm going to clip that.
Clip that, mate. Put it on the free Facebook group for us, would you?
Yeah, I'm going to. Right. Oh my God, that was funny.
Still got it, guys. Improv comedian by trade. Still got it.
You said I was surprised you didn't thank your family, your friends, and your agent as well.
Mate, I nearly wrote an entire paragraph about my love for you and what you've brought to my life, but I thought that would be way too fucking far, man.
I think so. Right. Gotta say, brilliant. Right, so let us commence and go through the player ratings and see how we agree. I haven't got anything to write these down on, so
I'll write them down for you, mate, if you want.
Yeah, just out of interest, just to see what we give.
Yeah.
So we are going to start with Mads Hermansen. Of course we are.
Yeah.
He's in goal. He did produce a very good save later on.
Yeah, this is true. He argued with his defenders.
He should do, because that's his area. He should be captain. Again, are we expecting too much of him?
In some ways, Chris, I don't think he's the biggest problem of the lot. And in some ways, I'm sat here going, for propaganda purposes and the club's future, I kind of want to talk him up so we can get some money for him. So I don't particularly want to slam him too much. But no, for me, I'll give him a 4. And I think a 4 is very reasonable in the circumstances. What do you think? Because there's not a lot getting higher on my end now. Now I've renounced that 5.
No, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm going to give him a 5.
Okay.
Because I don't think, he did. I've always said a goalkeeper is only as good as the defence in front of him, and our defence is absolutely shit.
And also, can I defend him in the element of, I know we were saying about Stolarczyk and how well he's done. Would you agree he's got a slightly better presence about him than Stolarczyk, even though he's probably conceded more goals recently? I
think so. And I don't
slightly.
think you can. I don't think you can. Look, he's come back from injury, and I think he was brought back from injury too soon. I think Stolarczyk should have been given another couple of games, maybe to let Mads just settle in, or at least that one game, and him brought back in for the cup. So I think he did come back too soon. But you've got to have faith in your defence that are in front of you, and I don't know if he has. he's more commanding than Stolarczyk, and Stolarczyk isn't scared to say what he thinks. But there we go. So anyway, look, I was a bit worried when I saw Koulibaly was starting that he might be on the left and Christensen on the right. Because let's be honest with you, I wouldn't have put that past what's I going to say? Put that past Ruud van Nistelrooy. I know you loved him because that was the reason you gave, and this is the reason, ladies and gentlemen, he gave on Saturday for giving the team 5. That Koulibaly made a couple of good runs through, and therefore the team got a 5.
Clutching for straws.
Yes, I thought he did all right. Understood why he went off. He was on a yellow card. If he'd got a second yellow, which was very possible, we'd have been up shit creek without a paddle again.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the nice thing was, Chris, like I said, he was the only one who seemed to be free of any previous concern, and we saw that in the first 5 minutes because he was the only one who was really going up there into space, and in some ways that is going to be as much an important part going forward as what we have learned so far. So I'll give him a 5 for his performance. I still think defensively there's work to do, but I appreciated the attitude, which is a good start, right? 5 for me.
I'll give him 5. If honest with you, had he stayed on, he'd have probably got my man of the match.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Well, unless he got sent off.
Well,
it could have happened.
But I understood that was the one substitution. I actually understood why he had done that.
Yeah, we have to do that. You can't risk it.
Don't really want to come to him, but I'm going to have to.
I'll let you go first, mate.
0.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 1, and I'm being nice.
You're being too kind. Waste of space. I've said this so many times. He should never darken Leicester's door again. I'd wish he'd do like hot chocolate, like chocolate on a summer's day and melt away. I think he's for that last goal. I mean, I know Samari, and I know that Hermansen went mad at Samari for not getting the tackle in, but he'd gone to get the ball, and I think Manson had either saved it or got a hand to it.
Yeah.
And then he just stood there.
Yeah.
While the player came in, and so I still blame him more for that last goal. Because he just stood there, and then when it ended, he went, well, move your fucking arse, you Belgian twat. And you might have got to it.
I mean, the reason he scores so lowly for me versus the others, I think a lot of tonight, Chris, will probably be 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s, depending on who the player is. The reason he gets a 1 is because he doesn't take accountability. Like you said, he pointed fingers, didn't take accountability.
I think you're being generous, but there we go. Yeah. When you gave 5 at the team performance, I'm not going to argue with the 1. Caleb Akoli.
Yes. Okay, I'll give him a 4. I thought he was okay. It wasn't as good as the game before. But I'll tell you something concerning, Chris, beyond just his performance today. He is kind of the only one we're looking at and going, well, he's the only one we might want to stay. But there's no chance he's staying at the end of the season because he wants to go home already.
Yes, yeah.
We might have no defenders.
The way he's been treated.
Yeah, that's part
of it. But then again, you can't expect to come in and just walk into the team. But I'll give him a 4 as well. I didn't think he did too bad at all.
No, he's definitely the only one that's guaranteed on the team sheet, surely, apart from Hermansen, isn't he? Yeah.
Christensen, I think, to me, he's best when he's going forward and he tries to get the ball in the box, which he can't always do because I think he's being told to come back or there's no other Leicester player in the box for him to cross into. We've seen when that happens that we actually do score the goals. But this game, unfortunately, the way we set up defensively, this game isn't for him. I'd have to go a 3, but that's I feel sorry for the guy because I think he's better than that.
I agree. I've gone for 3 as well, Chris. I looked at it this way, and I think him and Luke Thomas both have limitations in that role, right? But I think it's very dependent on who you're playing, who's the best guy to play, actually. I don't think it should be Christensen all the time now, because I think Thomas did enough in other games. So, 3 for me as well. He'll have better games. He'll have worse games, unfortunately, as well. But, I still needed more from him, mate. I'm not going to lose sleep if we lose him, to be honest.
Indeed.
Yeah, I'll go 5.
Everybody was saying,
5.
Oh, when indeed he comes back, we'll be fine. We'll win every single game we play.
Yeah, I mean, here's the problem with Wilf now. Wilf is falling into the James Maddison category for me from a couple of years ago, whereas there was a couple of times Wilf was out of position in this game because he was far too high up the pitch. The problem is the reason he's doing it is because everyone else is crap. So you get yourself into a mess and you get yourself out of position and you look bad. So I'm going to give Wilf a 5 because I still trust in him like I do Jamie Vardy over a lot of others, Chris.
Yeah, I've gone 4.
That's
But,
fine.
you know,
Yeah, 4 seems reasonable.
yeah.
I think I was being nice, but the only reason I gave it because I was quite happy to see him kicking off against shitty players like FaZe.
Yes. Now then, we've got Bradford child.
I don't know. I have no idea how to call this, mate, because like at times I look at him and I can just literally see. Do you know what frustrates me about Sumare? When he is literally in full flow and he is going for it as a box to box, I look at him and go, he could play for a top team if he's doing that all the time. He could, in theory. But once again, it's a 4 because it's when he decides to do it. And the amount of times we've seen him stand there and watch someone run past him now because he can't be bothered for like 20 seconds and it costs us a goal is getting frustrating.
I was doing the watch long, as you know, and I forgotten he was on the pitch at half time.
Yeah, because when he's not there, he disappears.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, he gets the 2 from me.
Yeah, which I think is reasonable. I've gone with 4 because I think the only times we got forward, he was the one carrying the ball forward. But then we still didn't win, did we? We still lost 4-0.
No. I've got to say, look, you know, it's all about opinion. So I'm not disputing any of yours today. Oh, my God.
Oh, God.
Oh, good God.
2 for me, mate. And that's being nice, 2. Because I can't give him worse than 5s, but he'll get a 2 because he was utterly redundant in this game. And this is him at his worst, redundant.
We seem to think like he gets the goal, and suddenly, is the best thing since sliced bread. How him and we'll come to his partner later, Ayew, are getting in week after week after week as starters, and this is what pisses me off with Rude. You know, he's got Bueneta, who was our best player under Cooper, on the bench. You know, he's got Mavididi, McAteer on the benches. And he's starting these 2 OAPs. And I'm sorry, yes, he has got a couple of goals for us. And quite often it is all about being in the right place at the right time. And you don't just do that with a bit of luck. You have to work to get into those. But it was awful. And what you just said about not being worse than FaZe, I'm sorry, he gets a 0 from me again.
Oh, really? You think he's the same level? Yeah, no, I get that, Chris. No, I get that. Yeah, the only reason...
he didn't impress me at all in this game. So he does get a 0 from me.
No, I can agree with that. I think
I'm going to just say I'm being generous.
Yeah.
El Canute. I think let's just have a look here because I went Koulibaly, but this guy is my man of the match. In fact, I'd forgotten I actually had gone Koulibaly.
Koulibaly, yeah.
He would have been my man of the match. And I know you went Ndidi, but this guy is the only one that shows passion and wanting to do something with the ball. He reminds me of Paul Gascoigne at Burnley, who came in and he was so good, but he was awful. If that makes sense. Excuse me.
I know what you mean.
None of the other Burnley players were on the same wavelength as him.
Exactly. If you look at this game, Bilal and Vardy were the same. They were trying to do too much because other people weren't doing fucking anything.
Yes. Yeah.
That simple. Yeah.
Yeah. What did I give Koulibaly?
You gave him 5.
I've got to give Canoes 5 then as well.
Yeah, I agreed. I went 5 as well.
Yeah.
5 as well. Yeah, because the thing is, Chris, he is the one that gives you that little bit of hope as well. Because when he gets the ball at his feet and he's in motion, he's a very good player for that. And I think he'll only get better. The only downside is, will he want to be in the Championship next year? Probably not.
He is probably one of our most sellable assets, unfortunately. Yeah. Now this guy wasn't happy when we signed him. Yes, I know he pops up with a good goal. Bring him on with 70 minutes gone. He'll hold the game up for you. He'll break the game down. He'll get you free kicks. Starting, no.
Yeah,
One
agreed.
for me.
One for me as well. And mate, I cannot have said it any better because I was going to do exactly the same line as you because I gave him the benefit of the doubt and picked him in my team selections, didn't I? And then he's shown me in the last 2 or 3 games that was a daft decision because the first game I thought he was all right. But I agree with you. I still think he has a part though. He's taken a lot of stick. I agree with you. Off the bench, late in a game, if we can be leading a game at some point, which seems very unlikely, I think there's a part to play. But in this game, a 1 out of 10. Agreed.
I don't think he's a winger, to be honest with you.
No, I think. Well, Chris, if we're going to do 2 up front, would he be one of the options? Maybe.
I mean, I have to say, and what the fuck are we doing with Edouard? Look, we're paying him. What has he done where he doesn't even get on the bench? Because we went into that Man United game with no fucking striker on the bench, and yet we were paying him 80 grand a week.
It's bizarre to me, Chris, because ultimately he's got history for this as well, and he still goes and scores 30 goals a year for Celtic or whoever else, or Crystal, whatever team. But then, like, you hear stories of Adel Taarabt back at QPR, and like if you play them in the right way, they'll score you goals. I don't understand why we're not being a bit more clever about this, because I think you're right. There's been goals missing from him. There's been goals missing from Buonanotte since he's taken him out of the team.
Yeah, Jamie Vardy. Look, I just love him to bits.
Yeah.
But he can't. Who else is there? That is the problem.
Yeah.
But we've got Ayew, who is a striker, not a winger. Daka. Oh, dare I say Daka? But he's not going to score either. Why not just give Edouard a go? But I think Jamie Vardy, like I said before, is getting very well. I did say he's not past his sell-by date, but he's getting very close to it. But he's certainly past his best before date. And to be honest with you, you can run around like a headless chicken, and you're still a headless chicken. And I've given him 4.
I gave him a 3. That was really harsh, and I think that's really harsh. But no, I agree with you, mate. Ultimately, Vard's in this game, in the first, 15, 20 minutes, he had a couple of chances. And they weren't clear-cut chances. They weren't your normal Jamie Vardy chances. He had to take a touch and try and come inside and try and make something happen with the ball, which is not really good for him either, his age. But after that, he disappeared. And I don't know how much of that is down to the players on the pitch around him, mate. But he didn't. He disappeared. So, and I think his head got down. And also, I don't want to entitle people to feel bad about life. So I always think he wants to encourage people. But I can understand right now where he's walking out of a face like a slapped arse, because I'll be like, what the fuck am I doing here?
Yeah.
I really would.
Looking at the substitutes now.
Oh God.
My love child, if you like. I thought.
Do I have to look at that? Do I have to look at him?
Yeah, I mean, he was starting under Rude. He has still got that long pass in him that can split open a defence, but I don't think any manager or Cooper didn't, and certainly Rude doesn't want him to seem to do that. And we cannot play with him if we're going to play a high defensive line. We can only play, in my opinion, with Yannick Vestergaard if we're playing, a low back, because he hasn't got the speed to get back when he's caught out. And we saw that for the 4th goal.
And he still can't header a ball either, mate. He's also remarkably bad in the air for a guy of his size. Like you say, he's fine with his feet. I'm not dissing him. He's fine with his feet. He's actually good with his feet for a guy his size. But in the air, he's terrible.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
And he's not. He hasn't got the speed. Again, you've got to know how to play him. I think he did well last season, but we were a level down.
Yeah.
I don't think, like I say, you've got to play a low back 4. I think if you were going to, or 3, whatever, if you're going to have him in the team. A 2 for me, I'm afraid, because he didn't stop the run for the 4th goal.
I put 2 as well, Chris. I completely agree, and I can't argue anything you said. A 2, and that's being nice, I think.
Yeah. Did he make any difference?
Fuck no. Sorry, shouldn't say that. No. I'm getting so annoyed about this. You literally get instinctive responses, guys. No. 2 out of 10.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Cody, no, he wasn't really on the pitch that long.
2, 3. 3. I'll go 3. I'll go 3, Chris. Yeah.
I'm going 1 because I don't think he actually did anything when he was on. I say he wasn't really on long enough. I'm sure he shouted.
He normally shouts. He normally shouts a lot at everyone else, doesn't he? So I'm sure he did a
does.
lot of shouting. By the point it really mattered at that point.
A couple of players I forgot to put up, so we'll just quickly go through them. Mavididi.
See, this is the thing, right? If he's going to be benched, mate, and it's going to be a problem that people are getting funny about him being benched, please come off the bench and actually do something. He came off the bench, did nothing. 3 out of 10.
Can't argue with that.
Yeah.
I will agree. And finally, Buenete. Got a cheer when he came on.
Yeah. Buenete can have a 4. It wasn't his best performance as far as I'm concerned, but he didn't get any time either. But like you say, and actually, Chris, he gets an extra point just on the boost of the crowd, because actually it will make a difference boosting the crowd, won't it? So
Yeah. And at least he was driving. I've actually gone. Yeah, I'm going to go 4 as well, because I think he actually attempted to go forward a little bit, but by then the game was lost. So what was the fucking point,
Well, exactly. Yeah, it's gone, hasn't it? Yeah.
Talking about what's the fucking point, let's talk about the manager. Ruud van Nistelrooy. I'll go first with this one. Big fat 0. He got nothing right in this game. He's picking the same players week in, week out, which is getting you the same result. Sometimes, occasionally, a couple of times he's got the substitutes right. This time, I don't think the substitutes made any difference. So he gets a big fat 0 from me for this game.
Yeah, and I agree, Chris. I'm going to give him a 0 as well, which is quite rare for me because I normally like to give it above that. But I'll go for 0 because I mostly actually for what he said in the post match for me. Because the post match, he kind of literally showed his poker hand and went, "Well, we're terrible." And I'm just like, yeah, well, we know we are, but don't go saying it. Try and do something else. We know we're terrible, Ruud, but don't be there like, well, I'll be lucky if I keep this team up. You're not. Yeah, no, 0.
Not what we want to hear. Right, a couple of seconds, and it's been a long one, but then again, we've had a lot to talk about today. And we will come back and have a look at the other games very quickly.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel now and make sure you never miss another upload. Leave a like now. Ring the bell and never miss another video.
Right, okay, so but we know about the first game, don't we?
Yeah, we could skip that one, mate.
That one. Everton 2, Manchester United 2. Wow. I missed the start. I think I came in at 2-0 down. Manchester United got it back to 2-2. Sky, how does Sky describe this? Bruno Fernandes inspires comeback, but Toffee's rule, late penalty being overturned. I can't stand Bruno Fernandes, but he's one of those players, a bit like Robbie Savage. If he was playing for my side, I'd love him. United deserved the second the draw. I thought in the second half they played really well, but they were lucky to get it. That was a clear-cut penalty for Everton.
Yeah, it was. And the fact it went to VAR when it shouldn't have done is even more horrific, Chris. I mean, I made a statement here on this channel, and I'll call it a statement rather than a comment, that I felt Manchester United would never get relegated from the Premier League because the Premier League would end up losing money from it. And if there's anything that is going to show you that could be a reality, it was that decision, which is quite concerning because it never should have gone that way. It never should have gone to VAR. And Everton have every right to feel aggrieved, but it will get swept under the rug because Everton are doing well enough where it's not going to be enough of a problem for the Premier League to do anything about it. But
anywhere else on the pitch, and that's a foul. Therefore, if it's in the box, it's a penalty. There was a definite pull on the shirt. How that referee changed his mind, God only knows. Well, he may well have got a nice little payoff. Who knows?
Bias, mate. Bias. Unfortunately, subconscious bias at the best. Subconscious bias at best. Could be worse.
Owen scores. Miles Lewis-Skelly sent off as Gunners dealt huge title blow. These are the games as why I think Arsenal are not going to win the Premier League, and it's as good as Liverpool's.
Yeah, I'm going to say something controversial here, and Arsenal fans, if there's any watching us, please put stuff in the chat about this. I don't think their owners are actually worried about winning anything, Chris, because their owners, when they have American teams, haven't particularly been too worried about winning things either. They're currently run very well. They're making a lot of profit. They're in European places. They're always in the top 4. I don't think their owners want it enough now, because I think if they did, they'd ask more questions of Mikel Arteta at this time.
Yeah. And look, it wasn't. I mean, Arsenal deserved the point. They could have got it. Arsenal were on the top. We're on top, sorry. It was a breakaway goal by West Ham. And that's the problem. If you don't, it happens to Leicester all the time. If you don't take your chances.
This is exactly what we should have done when we played Arsenal, Chris, and West Ham actually did it. That was my anger with our performance against Arsenal, because we should have done this to them and we missed an opportunity.
A couple of seasons ago, Bournemouth couldn't beat Everton for us and got us relegated. Once again, Bournemouth are tossers because they couldn't beat Wolves. Matthias Cunha, again, who is probably going to keep Wolves up on his own, win a boost survival bid after Ilias Abihana's red card. Didn't really see the red card, so I can't comment on it. But Wolves looked good for the 3 points.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny, isn't it? Because I still think Bournemouth played very well, really, and they still probably could have got something. But like you say, I mean, the Wolves situation for me came down to what you said briefly there. If Cunha had left, I think they'd be in a lot more trouble now, and they'd probably be in with us. Now Cunha's stayed and he signed a new deal. I can see them doing what West Ham and Palace doing. They'll be gone in a minute, Chris. They'll be gone.
Or
yeah.
He may have signed that knowing that if they do sell him, he'll get some money for his club. Oh, who'd have thought a player would have done that, Yuri Tielemans?
Exactly, Chris. Who would have thought so? And amazing, because that's got them 3 points against a team with all due respect to Wolves. They've got no right to get 3 points away at Bournemouth, as a lot of teams don't this year, because Bournemouth have been very good.
We did the watch along, Soccer Saturday or Saturday kickoff.
I saw a bit of it. It was good. Yeah. Deserve more views.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Brad was watching this game. I actually had somehow, I don't know how I found it, but I was watching the Arsenal game and had all the other games underneath, so it was quite good for that. So might have to do that on a Wednesday night.
They do that in North America with Red Zone for the NFL. You have all the games in little screens and they move them to the top. It's actually really cool. Yeah, they should do more of it for English football. Agreed.
There's a little thing at the bottom. It came up sort of goal and you had to wait for it, but it would then go to that game and show you the goal. But
in Canada, they do that.
Very well to say they were down to 10 men. Fulham 0, Palace 2. Palace, I mean, just be honest with you, well done. Oliver Glasner, a year in charge of the Eagles. And they're as good as safe now, aren't they?
Yeah, he's done a great job there, Chris. And also, the thing I like about it is he's done a quietly good job there. Do you know what I mean? There's been no noise, no fuss. There's been a little bit of, they're in a bad run, but he just got his head down and done it, hasn't he? Interesting Fulham, though, isn't it? Because Fulham seem to be doing what Marco Silva has a track record of doing at a certain point now. We talked about Brighton maybe doing this, but Fulham seem to be slightly slipping now.
Yes, yeah.
Interesting.
I didn't even make it to 25 minutes on Friday.
Oh, bless you, Anna. Bless you, mate.
You what, I have we didn't mention it earlier, but just very, very quickly, I have never seen Leicester fans leave as early in a match as they did against Brentford. And if that doesn't make Top sit up and take notice, nothing will. I really don't.
Agreed.
Okay. We are fantastic. Yes, you've had too many to drink as well, Anne.
And with a gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. Hope you got the message about tonight's show. I mean, here we are at what time is it? Nearly 8 o'clock. We're not going to have the energy to do the second show tonight, so we will look at that for next week. We'll have a chat after the show anyway, mate. Ipswich 1, Tottenham 4, doing a Leicester. Has Ange Postecoglou's side produces ruthless display to leave Tractor Boys 5 points from safety. This surprised me because obviously Ipswich beat them earlier in the season. Again, Ange looks to be turning it round.
Well, it's interesting because, I would say something about this, Chris. I mean, I think the last couple of fixtures they had, they probably should be winning, irrelevant of what form they're in or what injuries they got, and they got the job done. But the great thing about watching Tottenham is next week they can go and lose to someone that could be back to square one with Ange. So I'm not going to read too much into this. I think Ipswich on another day might have got something, but they had an off day, which they're entitled to do now and again, aren't they?
They are. Hopefully they have more of them.
I don't matter as we're going with them, mate. We're not going instead of them.
No. Southampton 0, Brighton 4. What is it about promoted teams conceding 4 this weekend? João Pedro and Mitoma on target as sequels run riot, and they did. I mean, all right, we if you're going to say one managerial change that has made a difference is Everton. A couple of managerial changes that are questionable. West Ham and Wolves, we're still waiting to see if they have any good. Leicester probably hasn't worked out, but my God, this hasn't worked out at Southampton, has it?
No, I actually, out of interest, before I came on the show, I went on the Southampton message board to have a read around and just see what people were saying, because I thought they must be in exactly the same boat as us, Chris. And lo and behold, anything that is going on the Southampton fan channel for this show tonight is exactly the same as we've been talking about. And we're brothers in arms, we're both terrible.
Yeah. Ipswich are going down, couldn't be mine club. And yeah, you got the message good. Yeah, so Southampton, look, they're dead buried, and Ronald says, thank you, Southampton, for propping us up off the bottom. Indeed.
Agreed. Thank you. We need it.
Now, interestingly, and I got very few points in the prediction league this week, Aston Villa 2, Chelsea 1. Aseno and Rashford sparked comeback victory for Unai Emery's side. I think Villa are going to enjoy having Marcus Rashford there, aren't they?
They are. It's a remarkable transfer window for Villa, isn't it? Because we were just wondering if they were starting to fall off the ball a little bit, and then they go and find Asensio out of their back pocket from nowhere. And I bet you right now, Arsenal would love to have Asensio, you know, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, because like he just came in, and I'll give Emery a lot of credit, Chris. Emery is not a tactical like magician by any means. It'll be very simple football, but he's obviously a very good man manager, because as soon as they hit a bad rush, one of their players like a Rashford. And I think in a minute, ironically, if there's going to be a move for Marcus Rashford that might help him, this is the best he could have got. So now it's on him. Yeah, I think this could be really good. But a great result for them. And Chelsea, obviously, slightly stale now. I think they're in the same phase of what we were under them. I think give them a transfer window next year, watch out.
Interesting you mentioned Arsenal there. They played Merino up front, of course, who came on and scored 2 against us. Shows how bad we are.
Exactly. Yeah.
But interesting thing is here, this is on Sky, I say Paul Merson. If Maresca doesn't win the next 2, he'll be sacked by Chelsea.
And he might be, because that's the way the big clubs work, isn't it, Chris? But I would implore them not to do it, because I think this is standard for Maresca. This is what happens normally at a point. But I think once they get beyond this, I think they will see more rewards if they can give it another transfer window. So, because the thing is, he's doing something completely different to everyone else. And I think that's important now at this time, because you can't just bring in Pep now to Chelsea, because that system's kind of dying on its arse now, and it's out.
Well, this is the interesting thing. Yeah. You know, reading another article, what has happened to Pep Ball. Suddenly, those teams that are playing Pep Ball, Rude, it isn't working.
Exactly.
But Rude still to discover that. What a game. What a game up at Newcastle. Yeah. Good God almighty.
Thank you, Newcastle.
Newcastle 4, Tottenham Hotspur 3. What have they said about this game? Nottingham Forest, Alexander Isak scores twice as Magpies move up to 5th in the Premier League. Look, fair play to Forest. They're not doing a Leicester. If they were doing a Leicester, they'd be top. But well done on them. I thought that I'd had them in the bottom 3. I think I had them actually bottom. I didn't rate the manager Nuno. Didn't think they were going to do it. But my God, how it's come together. And if they get Champions League and it means one of the big 6 don't, go for it. I'm happy. I'm happy.
Me too.
But what a game. And I haven't seen any of this game, but what a game this must have been.
Yeah, well, it was a superb game of football. It was both. I mean, it's like a basketball game. You know, there was no midfield. You're just taking shots at each other, aren't you? You know, and like you say, credit to Forest. I mean, Forest's biggest problem, Chris, ironically, is they've got such a gap already to kind of like 4th and 5th place or whatever it is in the table. I think they can kind of accidentally take their foot off the accelerator, and I think now is the time not to do that. So I'm not convinced they're going to make the Champions League, and I'm not saying that just because I'm a Leicester fan. I think this is a game where if they come out of it like they've had some heavy losses before and they bounce back, great. I think they'll make it, but I also think like then they're not the be all and end all. And I think, you know, to be fair to the manager, he's very good at what he does. Very good. He's doing a very good job with them.
Yeah. And finally, 2-0. Well done to Brad. He went 2-0 to Liverpool. It's all over bar the shouting, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it has to be. I mean, there was a post made today I saw where people were like, well, this is exactly the same points Liverpool had last year and they lost the league. And I was like, yeah, but Man City were 5 points behind them last year and this year they're like 15. It's not going to happen, is it? No. I mean, in some ways it's slightly default, but ultimately they hit the ground running better than the other side, and that's a credit to Arne Slot.
Yeah, no, indeed. And there we go. The table doesn't make good looking. Bottom three, the bottom three as they've been for a lot of the season: Southampton, Leicester, and Ipswich. Or certainly the last few weeks, it's been constant. Southampton on 9, they look gone. Leicester and Ipswich 17. Wolves now on 22. The gap's getting bigger. United, West Ham, Everton on 30. Everton on 31, Palace on 33, along with Spurs. They're all safe. I think 30 points. Yeah. Well, they're not going to get any more. Let me put it that way.
No. Well, Chris, the problem we had is that we made the right move at the right time. We just got the wrong manager, because otherwise we'd have done what these guys have done, but we didn't actually change anything from Cooper with our appointment. So there we go.
And like I say, and I meant to say, and I got it wrong. Palace, Everton, Man United, West Ham are not going to get any more points. So they're all on 30 or 31 or 33. Spurs, they're safe. They're safe. At the top, Liverpool, I mean, wow. I mean, 11 points clear. I mean, that's 3 wins and a draw. No, it's not. It's 3 wins and 2 draws. I can't see them losing enough for Arsenal. I can't see Arsenal winning that many more games than Liverpool.
No, with their injury problems, Chris, they're going to have to look over their shoulder, aren't they? I mean, if you lose to West Ham right now, I mean, you're going to have to look over your shoulder. And a lot of that isn't because of the managers, because they've got injuries. But then, they've got to improve on that.
Yeah. I do think, I mean, Nottingham Forest in 3rd at the moment. I have a feeling Man City will catch them.
Yeah.
But I think I still see Forest finishing 4th though. And then Newcastle, Bournemouth fighting for the Bournemouth in Europe. Can you imagine?
I hope so. I have all the clubs, Chris, this year. Bear in mind, let's talk about something apart from Leicester right now. I mean, I know we're Leicester fans and Forest. Yeah, we've got a bit. I mean, I'm more than happy for Forest to have a good European run next year because they've got history there. I know they'll enjoy it, and I think the same goes for Bournemouth. Bournemouth won't get an opportunity like this very often, so I really hope Bournemouth do make the Europa League. I do.
Yeah, It would be good.
It'd be great for them.
It would be. Look, we've hit 2 hours, 1 minute.
Yes. Sorry, guys.
No. I mean, that, to be honest with you, this is how I can see the show going forward. I like it. Follow us Instagram. Yeah, follow us on Instagram and TikTok. I know I did it very quickly there, but there's the TikTok. Hoping to go TikTok live in the next couple of weeks. So scan that and follow us on TikTok. And we'll be back on Thursday, possibly before. Well, we're back. We've got to do a City chat at some point. So we will see you probably tomorrow. Back on Thursday for the watch along with Tom and the other guys as well. And then I think we've got a weekend off, haven't we?
I tell you what, Chris, I'm annoyed about modern day Premier League scheduling, but when you're in the real difficult stages, to get the game out of the way on Thursday and have a nice weekend away from it's not a bad shout, actually.
It isn't at all. It isn't at all.
Life continues, mate. Life finds a way. It's like Jurassic Park.
It does. Mate, thank you very, very much. Really do appreciate it. I've enjoyed the show, guys. If you do, subscribe to the channel, like the video, click that notification bell. If you're watching it on catch up, comment below and let us know what you think. Keep it respectful though. And if you're watching or if you're listening, I should say, on your favorite podcast platform, thank you for sharing your ears with us. Have a good night, guys. See you later. Good night.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.